What's up, everybody? Hello and welcome to episode number 109 of the VK Bros. With the VK Bros, Jason and Alex Von Kennel on a beautiful, rainy Saturday morning here. It's a little bit moist outside.
Yeah, it's gross. It's gross. I
How
thought
are
we're
you
done.
guys?
I'm good. I'm good. Work's been very slow. I'm in need of money. So if I've got a shed full of cars and no money in the account, so
Yep.
I need to turn those cars into some cash so I can pay some bills. So come buy
You
something.
did sell one car fairly recently, didn't you?
To
Quality vehicle?
To you.
No, the one that you sold after that.
Yeah, but it's not paid for yet. So it is
It's good stock,
completely
though.
and utterly irrelevant.
Kia Cerato flies into stock, flies straight out of stock.
Yeah,
So,
so tell that to the
best quality vehicle out there.
the nicer one.
We've actually got another Kia Cerato here in stock at Auto Bros, so if you want to check that out, autobros.com.au.
But I wanted to talk about something weird that happened during the week, which is I didn't have a good sleep on Wednesday night. I think it was Wednesday night.
Right?
Mind was just racing. I'd had a couple of intense conversations that evening that I obviously couldn't shake. I used to go to bed at 9 o'clock, so I think it was like 9:30, just sat in bed, wired, when your brain's wired.
Yep.
Then I've got melatonin, so I thought I'll take one of those melatonin. But what I found the best way to use those melatonin is to take one and then wait for like half an hour, like do something for half an hour to let it hit you.
Yep.
Don't try and go straight back to bed. It doesn't seem not to work, which is what I did, and that didn't work. So I get up at like 11 o'clock, went sat on the couch, played on my phone for a bit, and then
That's good to help you go to sleep.
yeah, well, I wasn't going to go sitting out and do nothing, So
Could have read a book.
I had a shocking sleep. Anyway, boo-hoo, woe is me. The next day, I was tired, and I'm not used to being tired, because I'm an excellent sleeper.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And these nights I'm
Our
talking
viewers
about,
know that.
I might have like 4 of these a year. But what was interesting, by about 2 o'clock the afternoon, nasty thoughts started entering my mind.
Right, okay.
I became very, very irritable.
Yep.
Any little thing would piss me off. I felt like everything was too hard. I felt like I had made wrong decisions in the past. All these irrational thoughts entered my mind.
Yep.
I was conscious enough to say, all right, let's not make any business decisions in this state.
Yep.
Just stick to my list. I write a list of things I need to do every day.
Yep.
Stick to the list. Finish the list so I know that day I did a good job, although I didn't feel that way.
Yep.
And then I thought, how can people function like this? Like if this is more your constant state than a well-slept, well-rested state, I could see why you'd have problems.
Is this like an interview that you're going into? Are you asking me that question?
No, I just want to put it out there because I genuinely believe, and look, for people that, like, if you've got kids and you can't control it, it's harder to do. But I also think that, and I had this conversation with a new guy that started at the gym, I don't think people take sleep serious enough.
They don't.
People just think you just rock up to bed,
Yeah.
lie down, close your eyes, and you sleep. Now, he had put it a really interesting way. He's like, if you could offer someone for any amount of money, like the perfect 8 hours sleep every day, like they'd pay astronomical figures for it because it's so powerful. And this made me realise, like that experience made me really realise how valuable good sleep is. But I suppose, are there people out there that don't... Now, okay, I would even say in your case, yeah, you've got 2 kids. My question is, have you done absolutely everything in your power to make sure that you're getting the best version of sleep that you can get under your circumstances?
Yeah, I'd say we have. At the end of the day, it's interesting, like this is sort of going to blend into something I saw during the week. There's this clip that's going around a little bit, it's gone a little bit viral, of this guy. I think it's from like a Mamma Mia podcast or something like that. But there's this guy talking and...
I'll never listen to Mamma Mia ever again.
Yeah, fair enough. But this particular guy is just saying that essentially what his message was he's got like 2 young children at the moment, not sleeping very well, and he's sort of wishing away this time, wanting it to go to the time when the kids are a little bit older and things are a little bit easier.
Right.
And he was, I don't know, talking to someone about it. I think it was his nanny or something. And oh, that's right. So his nanny who comes to take care of the 2. Oh, he's got 3 kids. Takes care of 2 older kids. She comes over in the morning and he asks her how her morning was. And she goes, yeah, it's been great. Like, I got up, I went for a run, and then I caught up, had coffee with friends, and now I've come to work, and all done before 8 o'clock. And he's like, well, you know, oh, how good would that be? Like, I can't believe that there's people out there that get to do those things before 8 o'clock. Like, I wish that I could be doing that. And then she, I don't know, handed him some book or something. It's like, you need to read this. And the book was basically something on the lines of like, you know, what chapter is your life in? And
I was going sorry, I had a really dark joke.
you can say it.
Well, the book was written by Pol Pot, which is the killing fields. That you don't really need your babies. You can just get rid of them and then sleep.
Right. You still have some lingering dark thoughts from that one night of no sleep. Anyway.
It's easier to make anti-kid jokes when you're not a parent.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And someone has to do it.
Yeah.
So I'll pick up
sometimes it's encouraged.
Yeah.
But I actually found his point really interesting because it's something that I've grappled with a little bit over the last 3 years, because there's times when, you know, the sleep thing is one part, but a lot of it is things like, you know, your career gets put on hold when you have young children, because you have to invest so much time in them. So with everything in life, something's got to give. But I do feel like that's something that people in general, they could benefit from looking at their life as a series of chapters and saying, what chapter am I in now? So the way that he put it, he goes, I've rewired my brain to say, like, I went back through every other phase of my life and I called them different chapters, and then now I'm in the caregiving chapter.
Yeah.
So because the kids are young, they require so much care. That's the chapter I'm in now. And then one day in 4 or 5 years, that caregiving chapter is going to be over, and he'll be lamenting the fact that he's not in it anymore. And he's like, why don't the kids say they love me anymore? Why don't they give me cuddles first thing in the morning? All that sort of stuff.
It's a very yogi sentiment, which is like be in the moment, be in the pain. Like if it is painful, like be really present in that thing. But it's interesting putting it into segments. But my big piece of advice for people out there: if you're not getting high quality sleep, please do something about it.
Yeah.
Because if that, and look, mine was maybe an extreme case. I don't remember being like this, but I don't know, maybe if I'm being more present, or maybe I'm being more in tune with my body and my mind. But nothing good would have happened if I'd made any decisions under those circumstances.
Yeah.
And I am someone that I think a lot. I have a lot of stuff on the go, as much as I joke about. Like, I mean, my business doesn't take a lot of effort, but I've got many other things on the go at the same time, and it requires a lot of deep thought. And I literally I was running at 5% of my capability, and really irritable. Like I could have quite easily got in an argument with someone for nothing. You know, anything would have set me off.
Yeah.
The list helped.
Because it sort of brings some structure. When your brain, you can't rely on your brain, you can rely on the piece of paper that brought some structure
And
to your life.
I had to do it sometimes. I'm like, because I felt like I hadn't achieved anything. I was like, and I was really agitated. Just go back, sit at my desk, open the book up. Okay, no, I've got to do this. All right, this is the next thing. Focus on this next task. Be present in that task.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But high quality sleep is very, very, very important.
Definitely. And I think it's something that can cascade into a series of poor decision-making choices if you don't get it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of people, you're right, like a lot of people, especially younger people, when they don't necessarily think that they need it, but it'll be things like you'll go out partying and drinking all night, so you have poor sleep, and then you wake up in the morning, and then it's like, I feel like garbage, so I need the sugary energy drink, which then you crash off an hour later. Okay, I need something else, and it just starts off this like series of poor choices. And I think that's one of the things that Amanda and I have attempted to do in the last 3 years since we started having kids is, okay, the sleep thing is not something that we can rely on every single night. and we do our best to get as much sleep as we possibly can. But what are things that we can do outside of that to make things easier in our bodies? Okay, we can eat better food. We can, we can try to get out and exercise when we can. Like, I mean, I switched careers, so instead of being in an office, I was outside.
Yeah.
I literally did it because I'm like, okay, my body is suffering at the moment, and I'm mentally suffering because of it. So I could throw myself and chase money like I did before, work long hours and be unhealthy, or I could throw myself outside, take a big hit to like financially, but I'll have enough to survive and I'll physically and mentally feel better. And I'm really glad that I did it. Because I do physically feel the best I've felt in a long time ever since I got my knee surgery done, really. So that's 5 years ago, was it 2022? 4 years ago I got my knee surgery. So yeah, anyway, really good advice. Big things I took out of yours: get quality sleep. But if you don't get quality sleep, don't make any big decisions after that.
Yeah, make sure you have some structure and don't, like, if you know that you're running at 5%, don't bring, although you might, with your partner, you might have something that you've been wanting to address and you might think that's the time. That's not the time.
Yeah.
That's not the time, because you're not thinking right. Therefore, you're never going to resolve anything if you try to do it in that state.
Yeah. And if they haven't slept either, you're dealing with someone who's run on 5% too, and they're just going to be chippy as well.
And some of my tips on how to, because I think I respect sleep a lot. Like I said, I have a set time that I go to bed. I dim the lights and I don't have light dimmers, I'm not fancy, but like there's less light as the night goes on after dinner.
You'll turn different lights off.
Yeah. So it gets darker and darker. I don't check emails before I go to bed.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Right.
And if you're a boss that sends emails after work hours, just stop it.
Or you can send them, but make sure you tell your staff, like, don't open this. Like, because I think it's fair to say, okay, there's something I need to get out of here because I've just thought of it. Send it out there, but don't expect your staff to address those at those times.
Well, send them if they're nice. Don't send them if they're mean.
I would say
stressful.
send whatever you want to send, but empower your people to say you do not, like, you work between 8 and 5. That's when you can check your emails.
Yeah.
But there will be emails sitting there late because that's how I operate. So for us both to get along, I'm going to spray some stuff.
Yeah.
You don't have to read it. Okay, that's, separate your inboxes. Like, that's what I've got. I've got a work inbox. I've got a personal inbox.
Yeah, it's smart.
To try and partition some of that stuff. But yeah, it's make your bed. Make your bed. Like, I know it sounds trivial, but getting in a made bed feels better than getting in an unmade bed. Okay, so and also I think any therapists out there or psychologists might be able to sort of articulate this better than me, but I think a part of the ritual of, like, when you wake up and making your bed in your
Can
mind.
you do this in Jordan Peterson's accent, please?
Oh yeah. Yes. No, when you're making your bed, you've almost said, okay, I'm leaving this now. Like, I'm starting my day. And just like when you go to bed and you say, okay, I'm unmaking this bed now for me to now be in that in that bed. I think I bet there is some.
Well, it's funny too, because and this is something that I've only really become mindful of since having kids, is they always tell you when you're trying to get kids to go to sleep at night, you have a routine. And the routine is literally what tells the kids it's time for bed. And the routine might be bath, bottle, and then put them in the bed. But then there'll be other things too, like we have a noise machine, just plays like white noise, which drowns out some of the noise that we make when we're still up. But obviously that then becomes a trigger to, I hear that white noise, okay, it's bedtime. And I think we as adults think we're way more sophisticated than we actually are. And what you will find is that we've all got triggers, but more often than not, as we get older, these triggers become negatives rather than positives. So what I'm saying is, like, you might, I don't know, it gets to 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you go, oh, it's that time. I need to go and have my coffee, because you don't really need it, but it's just a process or a schedule, so to speak, that you built in. And I think that's one of the things that Jordan Peterson talks about all the time, is making your bed in the morning. And really, one of the reasons why that is to get your day started off to a positive start where you've already completed a task first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Because you know what it's like when you've got your to-do list. if you tick an item off early in the day, it gives you this little dopamine hit, and then you go on to the next one, then you tick that off. And then next thing you know, as you tick off all these little items, you start to have a really productive day.
Yep.
And then at the end of the day, guess what? It's really easy to get into bed when you're like, man, I did really well today. I feel really good.
That's the big thing. Sometimes my day here only, like my list has 3 items on it.
Yeah.
And you'd be amazed at how easily you can procrastinate around those 3 things.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do them and you go, look, I had a quiet day today, but I got everything done that I was supposed to get done.
Yep.
Then that's a good day.
That's a successful day.
Yeah.
That's right. But if you get to 3 o'clock in the afternoon and those 3 items are still staring at you on your list because you haven't done anything, well, then you start getting that psychological weight put on top of you. And then how do you think you're going to go to sleep that night when maybe you've rushed through one of these items before the end of the day, so you haven't done it to the best of your ability, you think someone might hold you accountable for it, there's still 2 things on your list, and then you're like, shit, when I roll into work tomorrow, I'm going to have those 3 things plus the next 5 things are on the list. And then all of a sudden, that's when the thoughts start going around your brain, and you don't get a good sleep. And then guess what? You wake up in the morning, you don't make your bed because you feel too tired, and you feel justified in not doing it, and you're like, oh, I need an energy boost, so I'm going to go and grab an energy drink, and then...
I'll tell you this, the people that say they're the busiest are the people that get the least amount of stuff done.
Yeah, I agree with that
Because
too.
busyness is an excuse to not produce.
Mm-hmm.
And it just comes to structure. The amount of salespeople that I've had, I'm like, man, I was just so busy today. I'm like, what did you do? Like, tell me what you did for the day.
Yeah.
And they can't tell you, can't recall.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm like,
so how do you know you were busy?
I can tell you what you've done. Because I've watched and I've observed and I've written it down. Right?
Yeah.
And you haven't done much. You
Yeah.
did 4 things today.
Mm-hmm.
But your mind is saying that, oh, you did 50 things. You just can't name any of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you actually quantify and break up and segment the parts that you need to do. When I was managing a big team, one of the things I'd do is I'd make sure I'd get the team started first.
Yeah.
Right. So I'd have a list of things, but any item that someone else was going to do or was going to be delegated to someone else, those are the things that I would do first to make sure that they get going.
Yeah.
And then
started off productive.
yeah, and obviously stuff's going to change throughout the day. But when someone gives you another job, be disciplined into writing it down. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll put it on the list. I'll put it on the list. I'll
Yeah.
put it on the list.
And you got to think, every single day, if you go to work, if you work for someone, if you run your own business, every single day, it is a choice whether to be productive or not.
Yeah.
You're still at work. You can choose to be productive at work, or you can choose not to. And a lot of people get a bit jaded with their workplaces, and they're like, oh, I'm doing all this work, and like they're making all the money out of it. Okay, if that's your mentality, number one, you're wasting your time at that job anyway because it's not fulfilling you. You're not feeling good. Number two, you know what? If you just drop that mentality for 5 minutes and go, okay, every single day I come to work, I'm going to, and you can't be on 100% of the time. Anyone who's like, oh, I'm going to be 100% engaged the whole workday, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
But if you at least go, okay, I start work at 9 a.m. From 9 till 10:30, I'm going to be locked in. And I'm going to have a to-do list that I'd written for myself the night before, and I'm going to start smashing that list. And all I'm going to focus on is that 9 till 10:30 block. That's me. You will find it remarkable how that 10:30 will roll around. You've smashed it, so you're feeling good, and that will roll on throughout the rest of the day.
Yeah.
But if you're walking into work every morning going, you're not going to do anything. You're just going to feel like shit. Everyone's going to think you're an asshole because you're not doing any work because you're that guy who just shows up and doesn't put in.
Do you know who that guy is too? That ties into the first conversation. That's the guy that rolls in with the 2 energy drinks in their hands and says, oh, I didn't sleep well last night. But it's like, this is every night.
Yeah.
You know? And
How many guys do we work with in dealerships who used to drink 2 energy drinks for breakfast at their desk?
Yeah.
How productive were those guys?
and all depressed.
Yeah.
It was a direct, like if you, the person with 2 cans of energy drinks that were done before 9 o'clock were probably clinically depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that was an interesting beginning to the conversation.
Speaking about who's about to be depressed
Yeah,
in 90 odd days or 80 days.
Oh, either he will be or we all will be.
Yeah.
We wanted to talk about an interesting development from Victoria, which is iCook Foods former founder and CEO Ian Cook running against Daniel Andrews in the upcoming election in his home seat of Mulgrave. Now, for a bit of a refresher for any of you, Ian Cook, he was the owner of a company called iCook Foods. We did an episode on this called Sluggate. If you'd like to go back and listen to that episode to get a full rundown of what the scandal was.
Also, you could go to sluggate.com, I think is the...
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But to give you the really short version, essentially, iCook Foods was a business that supplied high-quality food to aged care homes, because obviously a lot of people can't chew foods normally, so they supplied high-quality foods to aged care homes. And back, I think it was about 12 years ago, Daniel Andrews, when he was the health minister, and I believe it was Brett Sutton,
Yep.
they actually started a rival business in the same industry called Community Chef, which obviously being a government entity got a whole host of government funding. And then they started systemically picking off a lot of the other smaller competitors until there was only those two businesses left. And essentially a slug was found at the iCook Foods factory, which caused that to be shut down by Brett Sutton, who now was the health minister underneath Daniel Andrews when he was premier. And whilst that business was shut down, they went around and spoke to all of the aged care homes that iCook Foods was supplying, saying, hey, they've been shut down for a health breach, but we can supply you. They lost all their contracts and the company essentially folded. So this is all going through...
But also, that company never made a profit.
Yeah, the government company...
The government company never made a profit. It was... And obviously the family one... iCook Foods was a profitable company for years and years. And the government one was getting $8 million a year. Well, was losing $8 million a year.
Something like that. They lost an obscene amount of money. I can't remember all the figures off the top of my head, but essentially what is being alleged by Ian Cook, and this is still going through court, and ironically, the case was supposed to be heard in February, but the government, as in the Victorian taxpayers' tax dollars, have been spending an exorbitant amount on delaying tactics because they don't want this thing to go through court before the election. And they've succeeded because now they're not going to be heard until after the November election. But essentially what Ian Cook is alleging is what their plan was, because a lot of money went missing from Community Chef. And what they are saying is that if iCook Foods folded and Community Chef was the last business available that supplied that service, that the government would designate them as an essential business, which means they basically get government funding forever because they're the only company that was supplying these aged care homes with this food. So it appears, at face value, allegedly, all the caveats, that Dan Andrews and Brett Sutton were trying to take out all the competition so that Community Chef would get government funding forever and are funneling money out of it some way. That's what the allegation is. And that's going through court at the moment, so...
I mean, it's going to be pretty hard to refute. Knockout, or... you would have to be really, really, really inept to be able to have an industry where you knock out all your competition that was profitable to then lose money.
Yeah,
which means the money is being taken,
this is
pilfered.
The government, bro.
It is being sucked out of it, and it's not going to look good in court.
But, well, of course not, but
and the slug was doctored too, by the way. The slug was allegedly...
It's not that the slug was doctored. The slug appeared to have been planted because they had it, analysed, and it's like a slug that's not from the local area. It never could have reached the part of the factory that it was in because they chemical wash the floors every night.
Yeah.
So, if anyone knows slugs, they absorb a lot of the nature that's around them. So... It never would have been able to make it that far. It just would have died as soon as it touched the floors.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a lot of dodginess. Go back and watch Sluggate if you want a full rundown because it's
a really
honestly
story.
It's the most fascinating story that you've never heard of.
Now, Ian Cook's doing the rounds. I'll get Jason to run through what the interesting discoveries that he's since found about running. But one of his campaign his campaign slogan is it's not about left
or right.
versus right. It's about right versus wrong.
Yeah.
And he's kind of come out and said, "Get me in. We'll get rid of all the corruption." And successful business owner, he'll know what corruption is. He'll know how to do things properly. And not a politician.
Yep.
And then you can after it's all clean, then get the politicians back in.
Yeah.
So they can.
Yeah,
Get you back up.
he was even saying that because he's running as an independent, and he was saying he doesn't care if you vote for him, and doesn't even care if the Labor Party gets back in. He goes, you just cannot vote back in Daniel Andrews. And I was talking to you about this during the week, and I actually spoke to my old man about it as well. When you really look back at all of the scandals that Dan Andrews has been involved in, like, he looks like a dweeby loser.
Yeah.
The dude's a gangster. Like, it's like mafia don behaviour.
Absolutely.
So just to throw it out there a little bit, you've got obviously Slugate was one. So literally looking at trying to create a government funded business that him and his boys could siphon money out of forever. So that's one thing. You've got the red shirts rort. So the red shirts rort was when they essentially stole $388,000 worth of taxpayer money to use for political campaigning, which they weren't supposed to. They got caught out. All he had to do was pay the money back and say sorry.
Yeah.
But he's still premier. If you stole $388,000 from taxpayers, you'd be in prison, right?
Yeah.
Then you've got, what else is there? There's the scandals with like
The rail link.
well, yeah, what's it called? Suburban Rail Link or
Yeah.
whatever it is, which the costs on that have completely blown out astronomically.
Yeah.
And the big, whenever you're looking at stuff like that with projects, you have to understand Dan Andrews and the Labor Party's close ties with unions. It's all union profiteering.
Yeah.
And he creates projects which he says will be worth one thing and they completely blow out because it's only union workers that can go there, and the union bosses, they all profit out of it.
And then what's the benefit of having wealthy unions?
Well, it's funny that you say that, Alex. So the thing that I found fascinating about... so Ian Cook, I listened to him. He was on Andrew Bogut's podcast, Rogue Bogues, recently, because Bogut's been following the Slugate saga since the beginning.
He got me onto it.
Yeah. And one of the fascinating things that Ian Cook said was he has realised why so many either independents or political parties in Victoria fail so quickly. It's because they don't realise what the donation laws are before they actually start the party. And then that's why they fold really quickly afterwards when they realise that how stringent they are. And what is interesting is that Daniel Andrews only changed these laws back in 2018. So when he got re-elected in 2017, after that happened, the Victorian Auditor General came out, and you guys might remember hearing about this is another scandal, and said that there was 2 political ad campaigns that the Victorian government had run, which you're allowed to use, as a government, you're allowed to use taxpayer money to run ad campaigns if they're for information or education.
Right.
For example, like the COVID mitigation stuff, you can pay advertisers to go, wear a mask, stay at home. That stuff's fine because it's not political in nature, at least not at face value. But what Dan Andrews had done was he'd run these campaigns where he was essentially rubbishing the federal Liberal government and saying the Victorian Labor government will do better on a certain range of subjects. So what the Auditor General had come out and said is that any reasonable person watching those ads would say federal Liberal bad, Victorian Labor good, therefore it's actually political advertising, so just done in a sneaky way. And these ad campaigns came to a total of $13 million. So again, gets caught misusing public funds for his own campaigning, nothing happened. Then you had hotel quarantine, that debacle, yeah. Right? Not everyone forgets about it, but right at the beginning of the pandemic, he decided to hire private security firms with no experience in disease mitigation or anything like that. And then they were the ones who were playing hide the sausage, which is directly associated with the first something like, I think it was about 800 deaths at the beginning of the pandy in 2020 in Victoria. And when he had to front all of these, tribunals, whatever they were, what was his tagline? I can't recall. And anyone who knows anything about Victorian politics knows every single decision that's made in that state runs through his office. He knows everything that's going on.
Yeah, if you don't toe the Labor Party line, you get ousted.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, these are all these scandals that he's done. But this is brilliant, the donation rules that were changed. So after that Auditor General thing came out, and this is like a typical leftist, communist approach to laws, which is he brought them out under the guise of, for transparency and to protect the public so they know where the money's coming from, he changed the donation laws. And what Ian Cook is talking about is these are the new laws as of 2018. You can only donate a maximum of $4,320 to any political party or figure over a 4-year election cycle. So $4,320 max. If you donate over that, so they have to, like if you're running for a campaign, you have to set up a separate account so it can be audited. If you donate over that, so say someone drops $5,000 in your account, that gets fined by the Victorian Electoral Commission, but they double it. So if someone drops $5,000 in your account, they'll fine you $10,000, right? So there's this massive disincentive. And if you get caught trying to take multiple donations of smaller amounts from people, it's like 10 years in prison, right? So it's a big deal. If you want to remain anonymous, because if you donate that maximum amount, you go on a register, a public, transparent register, which sounds like a really good thing if you're anti-corruption, right? However, when Dan Andrews gets re-elected, he can go and look at that public register and go, oh, all these people donated money to my political enemies. Oh, do we have a government contract with that person? Oh, Alex, he's gone.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it's a hit list that he can then
also
run
set
through.
precedent to like start another business again, which is what happened to iCook Foods. You know, yeah.
So there's that.
And $4,300 doesn't.
It's chicken
doesn't
shit.
do dick.
It's nothing, right?
You can't do a Facebook campaign for $4,000.
Well, think about it. Dan Andrews spent $13 million of taxpayer money on 2 ads.
Yeah.
Right? It's big money if you want to actually campaign. So a lot of these people, and I know that Ian Cook is self-funding for the majority.
Sure.
Anyway, if you want to stay anonymous, you can only donate a maximum of $1,080.
Right.
Right? So, in other words, it's set up so that anyone who wants to oppose him in an election can only do so on chicken shit donation money. But here's the kicker. There are exemptions. And the exemptions cover affiliates. So if you are an affiliate group, such as the trade union, you can donate as much as you like. Now, I've actually looked up, here's the, so on the Victorian Electoral Commission website, so vec.vic.gov.au, under political donations, I'm just going to read it out for you so you know the exact language. So, banned donations. These donations are not allowed. Foreign donations, I'm cool with that. Anonymous donations of $1,080 or more. Multiple donations from a single donor to a single recipient, which in total exceed the general donation cap of $4,320 in the 4 years between state elections. Donations to more than 6 third-party campaigners in the 4 years between state elections. So
That's a weird one.
Well, that's I'm trying to stack the deck one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if you're a business person who had your business shut down over the last 2 years, who's like, I just want him out, I'm going to donate to as many people as I can to try to get someone to get him out, you can't do that. Disclosure rules at a glance. If you make or receive a political donation of $1,080 or more, you must disclose it using our online system, VEC Disclosures. You must do this within 21 days of the donation. Small contributions under $54 do not count towards the $4,320 general donation cap. It is an offence to make or receive multiple small contributions to deliberately avoid the disclosure threshold or general donation cap. You must open and maintain a dedicated state campaign account if you're likely to make or receive political donations. So that's interesting. You have to open a new account if you want to make donations. That's interesting.
Yeah.
You must provide an annual return to us each financial year that you receive political donations. This must cover all political donations, expenditure, and debts.
Fair call.
What is a political donation? A political donation is any gift made to, so again, specific wording, gift, so that could potentially not be money. Political parties registered in Victoria, candidates Victoria, and blah, 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 blah. Gifts include money, services, including paid labour. So remember how I was saying that one of the things that concerned me about Ian Cook's appearance on Andrew Bogut's podcast is that they might come back afterwards and go, oh, that gave you X amount of exposure, therefore that's a gift. Oh, that's over the threshold, you're going to prison.
P.S. We are unpaid.
Yeah. Loans, guarantees, property, including a loan of assets. Gifts do not include gifts made in a private capacity for personal use. Annual subscriptions to political parties registered in Victoria. So hear that? So a gift, if you are a member of the Victorian Labor Party, that money, that's not included, right? annual affiliation fees to political parties registered in Victoria. So affiliation fees, that is your trade union fees.
Well, what does it have the definition of affiliates? Because I'm thinking of a workaround.
I don't believe it does. But affiliates are essentially the unions.
Yeah, that's not
That's not what.
accurate enough. Because I'm wondering if a DAO could help Ian Cook.
If a what?
A DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, that is effectively a way to group source using smart contracts that no one's actually in charge of.
Yeah, I don't know.
But in the code. And that's why I need to know what an affiliate is. Because if you could start an affiliate organization, if the DAO could be classed as a affiliate, then there is a way that you could raise money that ticks all of those boxes, provided the DAO does not receive funds from overseas.
Yeah. Yeah, look, maybe that's possible. Now, there is only like 90 days until the election, so it's obviously not going to get set up in the meantime. But anyway, the basis of that is that in 2018, Dan Andrews changed the rules to essentially mean that he can take as much money from the unions as he wants. He can take as much money from membership fees for the Labor Party as he wants. And he is stacking the deck against any opposition being able to take donations to take him on. It's gangster.
It is absolutely gangster.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, he is Dan the Don.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dan-
Don Yule Andrews.
Yeah. Look, it's impressive that all these scandals that hit him just roll off his back.
Yeah,
he
he's
doesn't
tough
care.
And like this is the stuff that's already hit him. Then there's like all the stories about him, and we've mentioned this before. He was directly involved with the firefighters union, where they were run by a board, and he essentially got the entire board fired and replaced by one guy, which is his mate. And like that's being investigated at the moment. There's I think 3 times he's been questioned by IBAC privately. Like for some reason, he's the only one who's allowed to be questioned in private.
Yeah.
In the last year, and that no one even knew about.
What was the one where his comment about it was like he's entitled to his opinion?
That was the Auditor General. So when the Auditor General came out and said he misused $13 million worth of taxpayer money, Dan's response to that was literally, yeah, well, that's his opinion. And that's where it stopped. Like, what's the point of having an Auditor General if they find this sort of misconduct and nothing happens? But it's cartel conduct. Look at what the Victorian police did under his rule during the pandemic. You know, shooting rubber bullets at people and all that sort, stamping out the protesters.
Yeah.
Look at how quickly the police showed up at the construction union's headquarters when there was the protest out the front of it.
Yeah.
Like they were like his Gestapo. Like he had his own police force to rule with an iron fist. So,
the most striking, I think, Victorian police story is was it an AFL game and the nurses' protest? They were on the same day.
Oh yeah.
And the nurses' protest were a silent protest where they're all masked up, sitting down with signs. They got broken up because they weren't social distancing.
Yeah.
And the football the football fans got to walk out of the stadium, no masks on.
Yeah.
Like hugging each other, cheering.
Yeah. I think it was like the grand final or something, if I remember it correctly. But but don't forget that the health advice was that if the ball got kicked into the crowd, don't touch the ball.
Don't touch the ball. Yeah. Got monkeypox.
But getting back to the point, I guess, if you do live in Victoria and you are unhappy with the state of things, look, even if you're a Labor supporter, like Ian Cook said, he goes, I don't care if Labor still gets re-elected. That's perfectly fine with me. But Dan Andrews has got to go because he is the key figure. He's Australia's longest running premier. And I feel like we've said before that, people are as honest or as corrupt as their opportunities, right? And I just wonder if the reason why he's got so many of these corruption scandals is purely because he's had the longest amount of opportunity. Obviously, we followed stuff that was happening in New South Wales very closely during the pandy too, but Gladys Berejiklian got she left, right? So we can't chase her up anymore for all the corrupt things that her and John Barilaro did. There was plenty of corruption there too. So this isn't like an anti-Labor thing. This is an long-term government control thing, because unfortunately, over years and years and years, they will get given many opportunities to be corrupt, and they will start taking them.
But Labor is Dan Andrews, though. In Victoria.
In Victoria, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Which means you can't have a Labor state government without Dan Andrews. He will not allow it.
Well, if the people exercise their democratic right to vote him out of his seat, he can't. He can't be the leader. Yeah, he'll be running that state by proxy.
Yeah.
So he'll be invited to all the meetings, left off the minutes. Like, he'll be telling everyone what to do, so he can still, like... And that's part of the problem with this deeply entrenched corruption. He's literally stacked the deck, not only in the political donation sphere, but he's got his buddies on the insiders of the top of the trade union, the top of the police union, the top of the firefighters union. Like, if you just vote him out, it's like cutting off the head of the Hydra or whatever it is, and like another one grows up, and they'll tell you whatever you want to hear, but he'll still be running the show in the background.
Yeah.
Like, I look at, like, Anastasia Palaszczuk, for example. She's not been a premier for as long, but she's starting to get quite the rap sheet of corrupt activities behind her as well. You know, most notably the Wellcamp thing. That came up in Parliament again this week, when they're like, are you going to actually tell us, like, how these deals were done with these contractors because they haven't disclosed how much money contractors got paid to build the thing.
Yeah.
So it's like...
Well, they said that at the get-go. It was set up to make sure that... Because we knew they were never going to get used. We spoke about it here as soon as they announced it. Mm-hmm. So they knew they were never going to get used.
Right.
And you can tell they knew it was never going to get used because they made sure that no one was going to find out what they spent on it. Because when it was asked, which they knew it was going to get asked, they wouldn't have to tell them.
Yeah, yeah. So, look, at the end of the day, we just need to be hopeful that the next generation of politicians that comes through is actually people trying to do the right thing. The big appeal to me from a guy like Ian Cook is the same thing that appealed to me by a guy like Clive Palmer or Donald Trump. They're people who've been highly successful in business, who've got their own money, and they're always going to do things which is going to benefit the particular sector that they make their money from. I cop that. Everyone's corrupt. If you've got the power to be corrupt, you're probably going to do it, like you've said before. Like, you can't really fault Dan Andrews for a lot of the decisions he's made, because if that got thrown on your desk, you'd probably consider it too, right? Yeah. It's a human nature thing, especially if you thought you weren't going to get caught or there wasn't going to be any ramifications.
But also the fact that my thought train has completely lost. It's not... No. Okay, we have this weird thing whenever those business moguls come into politics, we always have this easy to label, they're just going to be corrupt, they're only in it for themselves. Yeah,
it's an immediate distrust.
Yet we just think that politicians aren't doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But they are.
That's right.
And especially if you're a career politician, like, this is what does my head in. There should be no such thing as a career politician.
Yeah.
How can, our system is broken. How can we have servants of the people that don't have to live in the same circumstances as the people?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So how would a minister of something know anything about that thing if they've never done that thing?
Yeah, and that's something that I know that, my wife complains about all the time, is when they keep handing out the education portfolio to people that have never done teaching before and have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
And you're right. What is a politician? Their career is based on being political. So what's being political? It's having conversations and schmoozing people and getting things done that you want to get done. It doesn't mean you have any experience in the areas that you're doing. So you can't even fault politicians for being politicians. It's all they know.
I mean, John Barilaro, he left the public sector to go into private industry, and he got a job in an industry he knows nothing about.
Yeah.
He was an executive director of a building company. He knows nothing about.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So you can if you try really hard, if you apply yourself, you too can achieve.
If you dream, believe, achieve. This actually brings up an interesting point for me too about politics, and I caught a really interesting clip from the ABC YouTube site during the week. And it was about how this transition into battery-powered and electric vehicles is going to be a potential massive financial boon for the Australian resources sector because we have a lot of the rare earth minerals required over here. So we've got lithium, we've got cobalt.
So we have cobalt?
We do.
We're not using it.
We're not using it at the
because
moment.
we're using Congolese
Yeah.
cobalt.
But this is the thing. So I was listening to it and I'm like, does no one see the irony in this?
Yeah.
Because they were literally saying that
No, dig up a different thing.
well, yeah.
That dug up thing's bad. This one's good.
They're like, we want to transition away from digging up oil and fossil fuels. And to do that, they were literally saying that the mining of these rare earth minerals, so keyword rare earth
As
minerals,
opposed to coal, which is quite common.
yeah, will have to more than double production to assist in this transition.
Oh, it's going to be way more than double. Way
Yeah.
more.
But obviously, you gotta say it in terms that people will accept at the beginning. So the whole point of this green transition is to be more environmentally friendly. So to support being more environmentally friendly, we are advocating to dig up more than 2 times the environment that we dig up at the moment.
But what's even worse is that the stuff that we're trying to stop digging up, we're going to keep digging up and just sell it to someone else.
That's right.
And but no, just because we're not using it,
Yeah.
we're doing the right thing, even though we're selling it.
Yeah, and this is the bullshit. Our government has said that we no more petrol and diesel cars by 2035 because we want to transition away from fossil fuels. So at the moment, because they're trying to do some green energy. We know that the green energy can't even support the grid that we've got at the moment, let alone when you've got our population is 26 million people. Let's say 10, or let's even go 15 million of those are probably adults who can drive. So if you've got 15 million people with an EV who have to plug it in every night to recharge it, how do you think our grid's going to go there? But at the same time, we're still more than happy to dig up the coal and sell it to China to be burnt overseas, as long as we don't see it.
I'm just trying to see how much energy is produced in Australia by renewables.
And while you look that up, one caveat I do want to say is just because we are saying these things in regards to climate change and green energy does not mean that we don't support the production of renewable energy sources. It just makes sense to do that.
Oh, for sure.
Like, we should be taking advantage of solar. We should be taking advantage of any renewable energy opportunity that we can come up with, because that just straight up makes sense. What we are saying is climate change is the emotional urgency story that we are being fed by politicians or anyone involved in that sector to justify us having to spend more money, is essentially what it comes down to.
Well, I want to throw this out there because I've had this conversation with someone. This is investing.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to think, because I don't think we can convert to pure EV for our road use. I don't think it makes any sense. The battery tech is not there yet. The batteries only last basically 10 years. Then you have to either recycle what you can, which is very little, and literally bury the rest.
Yeah.
Plus, the cars are going to be... I don't think people understand, if you replace every single car with a 3-ton EV, because they all weigh more because of the battery packs,
Yeah.
you're going to cause... Like, if you think Byron Bay's roads are bad...
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Now make every car 3-ton,
Yeah.
and then see how they hold up.
Yeah.
We don't generate enough... we won't have enough generation currently for the amount of load that you're going to bring to the grid when you convert everything.
Remember, just when winter started, there was brownouts
No.
on the East Coast.
I discussed that. That's not a generation issue. That was a market issue.
They
turned the generators off.
Yeah, I know, but those market issues don't go away.
No, but that they can.
But
and England and Germany, they're about to go and switch it off. They're going to switch the problem off when they start taking Russian natural gas, because UK, I'd heard stories about it, but I got confirmation from a friend who lives over there.
Yeah.
Their power has tripled in
Yeah,
price.
in cost, yeah.
Yeah.
And they've actually, I heard something interesting that so in England, they've got a cap that electricity companies are allowed to charge you for that
Same
energy
here.
per year. Do we have a cap?
That's what caused the brownouts. They switched it off because they reached the cap, and instead of selling it at a loss, they just turned them off.
Right.
That's why we had brownouts.
Okay, yeah, because they tripled the cap in the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, so that's not the future. From practicality wise too, these EVs, because of the battery tech, still aren't going to suit a lot of people's driving.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people, if you live in an apartment, for example, where's your electric? Like, where are you going to plug your car in?
That's right.
Not enough fast chargers. And then I'm also thinking, okay, how comes all these new service stations are opening up? Okay, if they're going to be ironed out in the next 10 years,
Yeah.
you need to make, like, those businesses aren't profitable enough. Like, you don't set up a business that's going to go bust in 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? You want one that goes for 20 or 30, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, that doesn't make sense. So there's something else going on. And then I remember Toyota. When I was working for Toyota in 2010, everyone was driving diesel.
Yeah.
Toyota said, we're not doing diesel. Hybrid's the answer. Okay? Turns out that every diesel manufacturer at the time was lying about their emissions.
Yeah.
And hybrid is now effectively the standard.
Hashtag Dieselgate.
Okay, so I think Toyota knows Toyota's one of the largest manufacturers. They're 1 and 2, like with Volkswagen, right, in terms of the most output of cars. So those guys are going to make the rules up. Toyota hasn't broken as many rules as what Volkswagen has. So I trust Toyota more so.
Yeah.
Toyota's investing in hydrogen cars.
Yeah.
Which is a hydrogen fuel cell, which you can go and pump hydrogen in in this like 3 minutes, like you currently do with petrol, and get 600 kilometers or 700 kilometers to a tank that only emits water. So to me, that's the future. That explains that explains the takes the stress off the grid. Moves to electric, which I think we should. Cars are better electric than they are with internal combustion engines. And all you car fans out there, you're flat out wrong when you realise that an electric motor the size of like a briefcase can make 1,200 horsepower. No ICE engine will do that. So be objective and understand that electricity is better. Electric motor is better. Explains why the business case for all these service stations that are opening up, because they could retrofit to
hydrogen.
To hydrogen. The boss of Toyota a Japanese government said, hey, we're going to convert to EV by 2035.
Everyone said 2035.
Yeah,
Countries all over the world, including ours.
The boss of Toyota's like, calm your tits, we can't do it.
Pump the brakes.
Yeah, we can't do that.
Yep.
I think the money's going to be made in hydrogen. I think hydrogen powered car. I think, which is interesting because I think markets are always the answers, right? So we hear a narrative, the narrative being EV, and in the background, the real money is being made in what the future's actually going to be.
Yeah, because the people who actually know what's going on are putting all their investments into hydrogen fuel cells while everyone's investing in EV stuff.
EV is a whole.
Here's the only reason why I think you may be wrong.
Okay.
I think that everything that you just outlined about hydrogen makes perfect sense as to why that should be the future. The problem that I have with it is the big issue with capitalism, in my opinion, is the fact that profit motive trumps ethics more often than not.
Agreed.
Especially on large scale.
Yeah, agreed.
And I believe that some of the reasons why, we, for example, haven't used like nuclear power in Australia, for example, is because it's so efficient, it's not as profitable to produce.
Well, I can refute that. The reason why one of the big motivators is that a investment takes longer to extract a profit out of using nuclear. So nuclear factory is 30 years.
Yeah.
Whereas you can set up a natural gas refinery and get it profitable in 12 years.
Yeah, so it's not as profitable to go to nuclear.
To start with, though.
Yeah.
Short term.
Exactly, which everyone in a capitalist world, we want short-term gains. We want to go to the moon,
Yeah.
right? All the investment goes in what you're going to get an instant return on, like all the members of Congress, the 48 members of Congress that invested in Pfizer.
Yeah.
Even though the Moderna jabs are partially owned by the government,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
still invested in the one that,
Yeah.
right? So that's why I go, because we do this stuff all the time in the West, where if you objectively look at a lot of the problems that we've got, there is a solution that could fix that problem. But we don't do it. And it's usually, in my opinion, because there is more profits to be made elsewhere. And I feel like that would be the same with
No,
hydrogen.
disagree. Because profits are driven by demand, and and demand is driven by value, value in monetary value or a time value.
Yeah.
The best product will win in a capitalist society.
But I
because
disagree,
the
though.
best product we create the product that creates the best outcomes for the consumer, the person who's paying the money,
Yeah.
is the one that will make the people the most profits,
Yeah.
and therefore will win.
Except you're right with all that stuff. Except what you haven't taken into consideration is who is influencing and therefore driving the demand in the consumer.
No, but so okay, I agree with you, but that wave of investment that happens now, this fake facade of EV investment, is getting all the people that were going to get rich, that are milking the system, it'll get them rich. The real product that comes beneath, when you zoom out, in my opinion, will be hydrogen.
Yeah, but like I said, you've just said you've sort of made my point with the whole EV thing being fake. We've driven the consumer towards thinking that EV is the answer, right?
Yeah.
Which you've just said it's not. Hydrogen's the answer.
Yeah.
But the market has driven consumers to think that EV is the answer because it's the more profitable thing for them to do.
Yeah.
Which that's the reason why I feel like the hydrogen thing may, even though it should.
Short term, yes, but what I'm talking about, what is going to be the answer?
Yeah, but we don't do long term, bro.
No. Long term's always done, but if you zoom in all the time, sure, there's people that are there's going to be some bullshit that goes on. I'm telling you, in 2035, we'll be driving hydrogen cars, not EVs.
You really think that quickly?
Yep.
That's only, 13 years away?
Yep.
I don't think so.
I've already outlined why. The cars are already produced now. The service station, the infrastructure is already there. It's happening now. But you're only responding to what you're hearing, but you're not seeing it.
No. I'm telling you what the world does. The world does not make the right decisions if there is more profit to be made from the wrong decisions.
In the long term, it always does.
No, it doesn't. Give me an example.
Well, you're referring to vaccines.
No, I'm not. I'm referring to everything.
Like what? Will you give me an example?
War in Ukraine. That was the wrong decision to make, but the West made the decision to make that war happen because you could profit out of it.
Yeah, and it will be over soon. It'll be over soon.
Will it?
Yeah.
They said that about Afghanistan. 20 years later, they were still there.
Yeah.
So that Afghanistan thing is another good example of what was the right decision, what was the wrong decision. We deliberately made the wrong decision to profiteer out of it. And we will do it again. And if you don't think that they'll do it again, I think that's naive.
EVs are the Betamax. Are the HD player to Blu-ray, hydrogen Blu-ray.
Yeah, you're probably right. I'm not disputing you on the technology front. I'm disputing you on.
No, but I'm telling you, 2035 we'll be driving hydrogen. I'm telling you that.
So let's put some. What do you want to? Let's make it interesting. Let's make a bet right now because I don't think we'll be driving hydrogen by 2035.
I think now how do we define it? How do we define it?
I would let you win that bet if. So what's the percentage of electric vehicles on the road now in Australia?
It's about to increase now that BYD has a car, the electric car you buy for 47 grand.
Vehicles percentage Australia.
Because you need people need to learn the foibles.
So in the Australian market, by the end of 2022, so far in 2021, 8,688 electric vehicles have been sold in Australia, representing 1.57% of the total light vehicle market. Yeah, that's how much we believe in it.
More than that. What year is that?
This is State of Electric Vehicles, electricvehiclecouncil.com.au. That was
How recent's that?
by the end of 2022. Oh, sorry. No, this was last year actually. So
Yeah.
far in 2021.
1%.
So put it this way.
Well, we're not driving. We won't be driving anything by 2035.
Yeah, because they'll ban petrol and diesel, and no one's going to have an electric car. So I would let you win the bet if in 2035, 2% of the vehicles sold in that year were hydrogen vehicles. I would let you win that bet.
But what if the EV sales are 3%?
It doesn't matter. I'm literally saying...
Oh, so you're saying hydrogen's not going to enter the equation?
Yeah, it's not.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll take that bet. Oh, what's it for?
What do you want to put on it?
No. What do you want to put on it? I'm fine. What do you want to put on it? Because I can match whatever you put. You can't match what I'm
What am I
put.
going to need in 2035? I'm probably going to need Auto Bros to supply me with a hydrogen vehicle.
I was going to say that could have been the thing. Like if there was a hydrogen car
A new car.
in stock.
Then you'll just give me that car. You won't have one in stock because they won't have been around long enough to be used.
What do you want to put on it?
Let's just put a...
1 Bitcoin.
No.
1 Bitcoin in 2035 is like $1 million.
Let's put one Dogecoin on it because by then Doge is probably going to be worth 50 grand.
Yeah,
or something.
I'll say that.
All right, one Dogecoin, 2035. So just to confirm, 2% of the vehicles sold in 2035 have to be hydrogen vehicles for you to win this bet.
Yep.
All right, let's
great.
go. And on that note, we'll see you in 2035,
Invest
everyone.
in Toyota, guys. Buy some Toyota stock. Help a brother out.
Just buy Dogecoin. See ya.
So, yeah.